if you're wearing one of these hats right here, you are deemed a racist, a misogynist, and you're basically a Nazi for wearing this hat right here. And the thing is, those opinions have been assigned to you by the mainstream media. You haven't done any research. You haven't done anything on your own and talked to people on the other side of your political spectrum. You're just assuming that they're racist, homophobes, xenophobes, little Hitlers walking around just because they wear this hat. You have no idea what their background is. You have no idea what their opinions are on anything. You're just assuming something because they're wearing a red hat that doesn't say anything too crazy. It says "Make America Great Again." Who's going to argue with that? Who doesn't want the country they're living in to be great?
When the American flag becomes offensive to the United States of America people, that's unbelievable, man. That is really something. Because I have an American flag on the front of my house, I'm now a racist. I'm now against all. It's unbelievable that something as simple as the American flag and the freedom of our country, demonstrating that, has become offensive to the American people. Like, unbelievable.
What is up, you guys? This is Orion and Dustin, and this is the Forged by Faith podcast. Alrighty, before we get into today's topic, we are 1 week away from the presidential election of 2024 at the time of this recording. And we did want to talk about just a couple things in that regards, and then we're going to get into our main topic of this podcast. So first of all, I did want to mention tensions are high. You got a divided country, partially, I think, because of the mainstream media propagating fear and hate against conservatives. But the big thing is online. Wow. I got to say, if you post anything pro-Trump, you're just getting dogpiled on right now. And probably the biggest takeaway on this one is not getting offended. We did a podcast on this, I think about a month and a half ago, and it was just basically dedicated to not getting offended. But more so than ever, if you see something online and you're scrolling by, Dustin, what do you think you should do as a man? What do you think you should do if you see something you don't like online?
Well, I think you just need to, not pay any attention to it affecting you emotionally. I mean, it's like, okay, whatever it said. But standing up, it doesn't really matter what it said. Is it right or wrong? I mean, is it portraying truth or not? And I think, we need to stick to what's right. We need to stick to the truth. And that's where we fight back. And it's not being a keyboard warrior. There's a voice involved, and there's a lot we can do in our own personal lives that is fighting back. And being a keyboard warrior is not one of them.
Yeah, I ding, 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 winner, winner, chicken dinner. Just move on. If you're getting offended by someone else's content online, you know what I do? Maybe I'm scrolling and I see something that's pro Kamala, pro Tim Walz. I just keep scrolling. I don't take the time out of my day to engage said person on their beliefs and try to convince them differently. I just keep scrolling. I got stuff to do. I'm busy. I need to go out there and spread the word. I need to go out there and build God's kingdom. I don't need to sit there and engage with somebody who's 3 states away. So you guys that are posting stuff, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with posting, but don't get caught up in these online arguments with, maybe they're a friend, maybe not, but basically with online strangers. It's just not worth your time at all. So just move on from it altogether. So I did want to open up today's podcast with that, since we are a week away from a very pivotal moment in the Republic.
Yeah, I mean, you open up the door. I got to say a little something about
Go
this
ahead.
situation. So you got to think, the world in general wants to promote unity and inclusion, and invite everybody and everything, and let's all be together, right? But you're going to kick Christians out of your rally. How is that unity, right? How is that unity? That to me is complete hypocrisy. If you're going to go under the understanding that everyone is included, but you're going to kick out the Christians, why? Why? We got to dig deeper. Think about that for a second. I don't care if you're a Christian or not. Think about that for a second. why would you kick out the Christian? I think it stirs the pot. I think, because we're fighting back in a way of standing for truth, the truth of the matter of things. And I think it's important to really think about that. Who are you voting for? Who's, there's hypocrisy on both ends. I'm not going to lie about that. But you got to say which one is more going for the right thing. And that right there is not the right thing.
Exactly. Well, the fact of the matter is, and I've got it right by me, if you're wearing one of these hats right here, you are deemed a racist, a misogynist, and you're basically a Nazi for wearing this hat right here. And the thing is, those opinions have been assigned to you by the mainstream media. You haven't done any research. You haven't done anything on your own and talked to people on the other side of your political spectrum. You're just assuming that they're racist, homophobes, xenophobes, little Hitlers walking around just because they wear this hat. You have no idea what their background is. You have no idea what their opinions are on anything. You're just assuming something because they're wearing a red hat that doesn't say anything too crazy. It says "Make America Great Again." Who's going to argue with that? Who doesn't want the country they're living in to be great?
When the American flag becomes offensive to the United States of America people, that's unbelievable, man. That is really something. Because I have an American flag on the front of my house, I'm now a racist. I'm now against all. It's unbelievable that something as simple as the American flag and the freedom of our country, demonstrating that, has become offensive to the American people. Like, unbelievable.
Yeah. And the thing is, the other policies on the platform are not that crazy. Let's secure the border. Sounds good. Let's not let a bunch of criminals in. You want to come to this country? Come in legally. We want to stop abortion and the murdering of children. Not that crazy at all. We want to stop human trafficking. Not a bad idea. Sounds pretty good to me. We want to stop fentanyl and drugs coming into our country and killing ourselves. Not a bad idea. These are not crazy concepts, but yet they're twisted into all sorts of just evil and mean things by the left. It's truly remarkable.
Quick story. I didn't even tell you this. The other day, my cousin was driving down in Aurora, and he was in his car, just cruising along. And guess what? Surrounded by a bunch of guys on these like little scooter bike things with black masks, with hats on, surrounded his car, like literally ready to steal his car. I don't know, hurt him. I don't know.
Yeah.
But there was a guy in a truck next to him. He rolled down his window. He said, "I'm armed and I'm loaded." And and my cousin was like, "Me too." And they're like, "If something gets crazy, you know what we're going to have to do." And unfortunately, that is what we're allowing in our country. This was a Venezuelan gang. This was a gang coming into our country, harassing United States people on our own public streets. And this is what we're allowing into our country right now.
Yeah. And just saying that right there, you would be deemed a racist by the left.
Yeah, crazy. Am I racist against Venezuelan people? Absolutely not. My best friend is Venezuelan. I love him to death. He's one of my favorite people. But if you're going to come in this country and be a gang and promote violence and promote all these other things, yeah, I'm not for that.
Exactly. We might have to kick this topic around next week when it's the actual election. But yeah, that's, you guys can obviously, disagree with us. We're 100% fine with that. And if you want to comment on Facebook or on YouTube, that's fine. We're more than happy to have these conversations. Just be willing to engage in a good conversation, not just attack somebody for just believing something slightly different than you.
Better yet, come have a cup of coffee with us.
Yeah, face-to-face interaction. I like that. I like the sound of that. Anyway, well, let's get down to today's topic. So we're going to talk about the struggle is mandatory. And I'm going to kick this off with a verse from the Bible. And it is from James, first James 2-4. And it goes like this: when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing. That is just hits hard on so many levels. What a great verse right there from James 1. And we're going to dive into that, and we're going to add some of our own commentary. And before we do, Dustin, anything you want to say just to that particular verse?
James lays it out. It's an opportunity to be tested, right? And what is the testing going to produce? Endurance, right? And it will help you to grow. And I think if we were in the mindset of growing as individuals and growing as people together, then we wouldn't be walking in pure offense all the time, right? We would all be fighting for the common cause of good. But that's just not what's happening. And so we go back to the Bible, like James here, and it's like, this is what we have to live by. This is the truth, and this is why, as a Christian, we can walk through these struggles and have joy and say, things are crazy, but you know what? God gives me an internal joy, and nobody can mess with me on that. I can fight back and still be happy inside. I can still show up for my family. I can still have a smile on my face, and I can still go to sleep at night, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a theme that comes up quite a bit in the Bible. And this verse actually reminds me a lot of one of my other favorites is Romans 3:5, which kind of encapsulates the same thing where you're going to struggle in life. You're going to be tested. You're going to have challenges and obstacles to overcome. One, you got to have that faith component and that base built. And that's going to make what you go through become more manageable as far as overcoming said challenge or problem or obstacle, whatever it might be. So it's a common theme in the Bible. And we're highlighting it today. And it's really something good that I think all men can apply to their lives. So the first bullet point we want to kind of get into is becoming a confident and capable man will be one of the hardest things you will undertake in your adult life. You're going to constantly be challenged with sinful behaviors, with degeneracy, with the culture trying to pull you down to its level. So there's all these things are going to come up in your life. And yeah, it's going to be a hard thing to undertake. And a lot of the younger guys we work with, and I see this a lot, is they just feel as if they're entitled to it being easy and entitled to, hey, I just get these things handed to me. It's like, no, you're going to have to work for a lot of things in your life. There is going to be struggle.
Yeah, there's going to be absolute struggle. And guess what? It's not about you. It's about serving. And through the struggle, you're learning about yourself. But the thing about it is, I don't know what the deal is, but man, these days we want to take the path of least resistance, avoiding every little struggle involved in life, avoid marriage, avoid having a child, avoid all these things. Why? Because it might change your heart, because it might do something in you that you didn't even know could happen to you, that you could actually become a man because you have a child. I'm pretty sure God uses kids to help men get out of bed in the morning and give them a reason to fight back for life in general and give them a motivation to do more, right?
Yeah. Well, I was going to say it might force somebody to stop playing video games or force somebody to stop smoking weed or vaping or gambling or jerking off to pornography. Doing something with your life is going to be uncomfortable, and it's going to push you away from these creature comforts that are just so embedded into our society. And as a man, it's imperative that you make something of your life. You can't just sit back and expect the world to happen without you contributing. It's your job to solve problems, to overcome adversity, to build a legacy for your family. I always laugh when I see a couple, a dinks, double income, no kids, because it's one of those things where, what are you guys working for? Are you working to build a legacy? I get it if you can't have kids for whatever reason, that was God's plan for you, but you can adopt. You can have a legacy that's building and helping people and building kingdom building. But when I see a couple that have no kids, that are just traveling around, they're going out to the bars on the weekend, they're doing whatever. It's like, man, we were meant for so much more. And as the man, as men, we need to live up to our God-given potential and our God-given gender roles. Just that's what we're meant to do.
We're missing the point of life when we think that this world is all about self-pleasuring. We are missing the mark. Okay, it's like we are put on this planet to serve others. We are put on this planet to help others, to help our families, to help people. I mean, I've ran a welding service for 15 years. What did I do? I served people. Like that is our role. Like it's not about me. Yes, I need to take care of my body. I need to take care of myself in some ways, but it's not all about me. It's about the other person. And this is one of the reasons why we do this podcast, right? It's to help people. And
Yeah.
so to help people rise above the selfishness and say, dude, get outside of yourself and allow the things in your life to shape you and mold you and have joy in it, because it's a beautiful struggle. I mean, working out has become something that we embrace now. Still hurts. We embrace it, right?
Yeah.
Still is painful at times. It was still stretches. It still pushes us, but we've learned it because we know what it does to us. We know how it shapes our bodies, right?
Yeah. Well, and the fact of the matter is, most guys don't want to put in that hard work. They might be a little motivated, and they might have, we're, approaching the new year and New Year's resolutions, and I'm going to get in shape and work out and lose weight this year. So the motivation can exist. It's just sustaining it. And this is where discipline comes into play, because motivation can ebb and flow. You could read a Bible verse, be super duper motivated, but then you got to follow through on that and be consistently disciplined. You can, like I just said, the New Year's resolution, you could be super motivated in January, but guess what? February rolls around and then that completely crumbles. And then, the gyms are empty. they're full in January. And then on February 1st, the gyms are completely empty because people don't have that discipline. So that motivation, that ebbs and flows, and guys are just not willing to put in that hard work. They're not willing to put in that discipline to live up to their God-given potential. And the thing is, guys are completely lazy. Your competition, whether it's business, whether it's is building that legacy, your competition is absolutely lazy. So if you just put in a decent amount of effort, you can get so far ahead in this life.
Yeah, man. I have this thing right behind me. See, discipline equals freedom, right?
Yes.
That's true. Motivation's fleeting, right? It's gonna go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Discipline, well, you can count on discipline. Then do you want to be counted on? Do you want your wife to be able to count on you? Do you want your kids to be able to count on you? Do you want your friends to be able to count on you? The reason why they're going to be able to count on you, not because you're motivated all the time, it's because you're disciplined, because they can trust you. And I think being disciplined creates trust, right? And we need to double down on that. It's very important. You need to be a disciplined man. You need to be, uh, you know, you can't just be fleeting. You can't just go by your feelings. You have to be disciplined. You have to be disciplined in the word. You have to be disciplined with your body and how you eat. And these are the things that keep you steady, so you're not affected by every little thing that happens to you in this world, because you're a disciplined man. You have control over what you're doing and how you're doing it, how you're reacting, counting it all joy because you're reading your word, and you're preparing your heart, you're preparing yourself, you're getting the tools that you need to battle back. And that's why it's so important to be diving into this stuff every single day, not once a week, not on Sundays, every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sharpening the mind. It's sharpening the body. It's sharpening your spiritual strength. And it's not just done passively. It's not done sitting on the couch watching Netflix. You've got to be doing it every single day to an extent. And the discipline is absolutely the key, because motivation's gonna ebb. It's gonna disappear. It's gonna dissipate. You might be really motivated one day and then you lose all motivation for whatever reason. But if you can fall back on that daily discipline, you're going to get through. I always laugh when someone says, help motivate me. How can I stay motivated? It's like, you just do. Do you need motivation to cross the street if you have to? No, you cross the street. If you had an emergency situation and your house was on fire, do you need motivation to get out of the house? No, you get the heck out of there. So motivation is such a it's almost it's a cheap excuse. It's something that people use flippantly, like, oh, I'm just not motivated. Well, yes, you are. You just don't want to do the work, plain and simple.
It falls back on reacting to your feelings. I don't feel like this. I don't feel like that. Your
Yeah.
feelings are valid and sometimes they're real. Okay. Sometimes they're real. And you got to realize, dude, it is not about whether I feel motivated to do something or not. It needs to be done. It needs to be done. Your kids need you after you get home from work and you're tired. Okay, you're going to have to flip into a different switch. I don't know, go do some jumping jacks, wake yourself up, slap yourself. I don't know, do something to wake yourself up and show
Yeah.
up for your family, even if you're tired after work. It's like, it's time. Your kids deserve that. Your wife doesn't want, the bottom barrel of what you can give her at the end of the day. She deserves the best. And we need to flip that switch. I remember at times after a hard day of work, there's literal times where I pulled to the side of the road and I prayed and I said, God, I don't feel like I have the energy for my family when I get home. I need you to restore my energy. I need you to revamp my mind. I need you to restore me as a man so I can show up for my family in a way that they need me to. Because if I'm not doing that and I'm just providing and you think providing is enough, guess what? It's not. Providing is actually not that difficult. That's what we have to do. That's part of our role. What's difficult is showing up for your family when you're tired. And that's
Yeah.
where the rubber meets the road right there.
Yeah. And just a little quick life hack. I hate using that word, life hack. Is if you're eating junk food, your energy is gonna be drained. So you can very easily combat that low energy feeling with eating good, healthy food. If you're eating good quality protein, quality fats, and quality carbohydrates, you're gonna be feeling good and you're gonna have that energy that's gonna sustain you throughout the day.
We had somebody over for dinner last night and like, you guys don't do sides, no like vegetables or nothing. I said no, we just change up what we're eating. So like we had burgers, right? And one of them was a burger, and I just had like some mustard on it, a couple things, some cheese. And then she's like, well, what are you gonna have like after that, like to fill it up? I was like, then I make my dessert burger. What's your dessert burger? I put some cream cheese on it, put a little honey on it. That's my
Yeah.
dessert burger. You just change it up a little bit. Guess what? Pure protein, sustained for the evening, slept wonderfully. You got to eat good.
Yeah. So if you guys are ever finding yourself low on energy, it's probably the junk food you're putting in your mouth.
Absolutely.
So that's a good segue into the next Bible verse I got on call here. And this really boils down to just overall laziness, overall entitlement. And it's from Proverbs 13, verse 4. And it goes like this: the soul of a lazy man desires and has nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made rich. And let's unpack that right there, because it hits hard on a couple levels there. And when you break it down, that first sentence, the soul of the lazy man desires. And I can't tell you how many times I've encountered men and young men who want something. They want to make money. They want to be in shape. They want to have a better spiritual connection with Christ, but they're unwilling to put in the work. They desire this outcome, but they don't have it because they are absolutely lazy and they don't want to put in the work. And that's really what it boils down to on a lot of different factors. But the soul of the diligent man shall be made rich. And you could almost put the soul of the disciplined man right in there and you would get the same outcome. And that's really what it boils down to. That discipline and overcoming laziness makes such a big difference when it comes to the overall objective and outcome of your life.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people have heard this one, but it's like, what is the two greatest distances in the entire world? The distance between knowing and actually doing, right? And James actually talks about it as we're reading in James, that you can't just be a listener of the word, you have to be a doer of the word. And it talks about if somebody needs something, such as, I don't know, say a homeless person is like, you desire, like, man, I want to give them food and a coat, and you desire that, but then you don't do it, then it's pointless. Like, actually do it. Give them a coat and give them some food. Like, actually do something about it, you know? And so we got to be doers. Like, you can't, if you're struggling with laziness, then pray, ask God, help me not to be lazy, and make a decision. You know, one of the most powerful thing, our superpowers as we have as human beings, is the power to choose, right? You have the choice. You can either choose to sit on your butt and be lazy, whatever, or you can get up and do something. And
Yeah.
nobody's going
Yeah.
to win by sitting around.
It takes action. It takes action, and it takes consistency. And you gotta put one foot in front of the other, and you just gotta go. Once that momentum's established, you can really get far, and then you fall back on a daily discipline. And the thing is too, and I won't take all the responsibility off the individual, but our clown world is purposely engineered to distract, deceive, and decouple you from living up to your God-given potential. You just look at all the vices and all the distractions we're constantly inundated with on a daily basis. And it's like, yeah, no wonder people can't get any work done. No wonder no one goes to the gym. They're, neck deep scrolling on their phone, looking at TikTok and Facebook and responding to my posts and taking an hour out of their time to fight with me online. It's like, no, you got to go out and do something. Don't be distracted. Get to work. Take action. No days off ever.
Some people might say, why are you guys giving this kind of advice? What is the reason? Do you live some perfect life or something like that? No, we live a life now that is a whole lot better than what we used to live. And then we both lost our fathers due to alcohol abuse. My dad was completely addicted to alcohol, and he died from alcohol-driven heart attack. Um, and it's like, I am sick of seeing men be destroyed by the evil one by living a life full of selfishness and self-destruction. That's why we have this podcast, because we drew the line. Orion and I drew the line and said, this will not happen in my house anymore. This will not happen with my family. We will have different kids because it stops with us. The generational curses and all the things that happened in our past, that stops with us. We have to decide to make a choice and for God to heal the brokenness in our past so we can live connected to Him. And when we're living connected to Him, we're winning every single day. Our kids are winning, our family's winning. And that's why we're doing this. And so if you're questioning, why are they giving you this advice? It's because we've gone through hell to learn it, right? Because we went through the trenches, and it was miserable, and we didn't want to stay there anymore. It was nasty, right? And we wanted to live a different life, and that's what this life is. It's different, and like you said, Orion, if there was such an opposing darkness, there has to be such a light as well, right? And the contrary is true, and it's Jesus Christ. That's what it is. That's the light.
Yeah. Yeah. Without going down in the rabbit hole right now, but that was one of the main things that pushed me into seeking Christ and getting into faith and discipline with my faith, was seeing the evil in this world and seeing what man is capable of, and the deceit and the lies and the sin and the degeneracy. That's what pushed me towards Christ. And that was one of the key moments for me, is that realization. Holy smokes, there's this much evil. There has to be a counter to that. There has to be the light.
And there is. It's true.
Well, let's wrap things up for this podcast. Couple things that I wanted to touch on, and then I'll finish with a verse here. And when you do need to be able to overcome these cultural traps that are laid out before us. And it's one of those things where you're always going to be tested. The enemy never takes a day off, but you need to know that God is always with you. God will help you. God is your companion, and God will guide you and help you overcome the adversity that's laid out before you. And that can be from quitting drinking, quitting watching pornography, to getting in shape and losing weight, to being healthy, to getting into church and walking with Christ and being a more spiritual person. There's so many things that can entail, but you do have to look out for the cultural side of things, those traps that are laid out before us, and that can basically spring at any moment.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like somebody needs to hear this. So it's kind of like you say you have something that broke. Say so I'm gonna use a welding example. Say that something broke and it was a piece of steel, and you want it to be repaired. But instead of calling a welder, you're gonna just use JB Weld. You're gonna go to the auto shop and you're gonna use JB Weld, and you're gonna lather it up on that steel, and you're gonna say, oh man, this thing's good, and then it snaps again. The reason why it snapped again is because that is not the correct thing to use to make that thing strong and whole. And so some of you guys are using the wrong tools for the job. You keep going back to the same broken, stupid thing every time. Oh, pornography is going to help me cope. Drinking is going to help me cope. Drugs are going to help me cope. No, they're not. They're JB Weld, man. It's going to keep snapping. It's going to keep breaking, and it's going to keep breaking you down every single time you choose that. The way to win and the way to get to the root and actually fix that thing properly is to sit in your emotions with Jesus, to repent for your sins, to ask him into your life and help him rebuild your heart. Help him rebuild your trauma. Help him rebuild you so you're actually healed. Some of you will never be healed because you keep putting the JB Weld on and you keep being broken. And it's just a crazy cycle, man. You'll never break free of it.
Yeah, it's kind of in line with our culture as a whole. Everyone's looking for the quick fix. They're always looking for the quick fix. They don't want to do the hard work. They want if they want to lose weight, they take the cheap diet pill, as opposed to, no, you got to eat healthy for an extended amount of time and you got to work out for an extended amount of time. It's just, there's no quick fix, and you got to be able to put in the work, the life hacks, the searching the internet for the easiest way to do something. It doesn't exist. You got to put in the hard work. And that's the same with your faith. That's the same with your health. That's the same with your relationships and the people that you have in your life. Everything is work. Everything is work. Before we wrap up, I want to hit you guys with a Bible verse from Matthew 5, verse 16. And it goes like this: in the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. And that's a great way to kind of just bring everything together, is letting your light shine, making something of your life. The struggles are going to be there. They're mandatory. Get used to it, but make something of your life so you can help build God's kingdom and bring glory to him, and you can help others along the way. Anything you want to add before we log off here, Dustin?
I just think like the difference between I've seen people go through cancer without Christ, and it was miserable, it was terrible, it was the worst thing ever. Then I've seen people go through cancer with Christ. Guess what? They counted it as joy. They went through it. It was really hard. We have a brother that's been healed from cancer, literally healed from cancer, and he's on the other side, and he's saying, he had joy. He literally did. He went through it. And yeah, it was hard. It was super hard. But we prayed for him and battled with him, and he kept a strong attitude, and he made it, and like that's the difference. That's the difference of life. Like, you're either gonna let it beat the living crap out of you and take you out, or you're going to have victory through Christ and get above this thing and figure out that you can actually struggle with joy.
Yeah, exactly. You will be tested. Your faith will be tested. You will be tested physically, mentally, and spiritually, but you will overcome it and you will get through it as long as you have that foundation of Jesus Christ. On that note right there, you guys, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with a brand new podcast. Take care, you guys. Have a great day.